Hi, everybody. Coming up on 10:51 right now, a live broadcast here as we're going to talk about the potential of a landfalling tropical storm this week along the East Coast that'll likely make landfall somewhere in the Carolinas and then move all the way up through New England, possibly packing a lot of wind and a lot of rain. Hi, everybody. I'm meteorologist Chris Justice. Thank you for tuning into this live broadcast. If you're new to my channel, I provide early warnings to severe weather, a reliable forecast you can count on, and a direct approach you won't find anywhere else. Please consider subscribing right now if you do not already. Yes, we have tropical impacts developing right now off the southeast coast. It has been oh so wet in Florida. If you can, please let me know where you're watching from right now, and we'll get this conversation going. I do appreciate each and every one of you for following me and letting you know where you're watching from. I've got Cedar Mountain in the house. We got Wilmington in the house. Kissimmee, Florida. Thank you guys for watching right now. If you will, please share with your friends in the Northeast, because I think this is going to be a bit of a surprise to some. From Baltimore to Washington, D.C. to New York City, we're talking about the potential of some real wind and rain here and maybe direct impacts from a tropical storm. I think Ophelia is going to be the name on this one, and we'll see impacts continuing to move toward the north as we move forward here. Got Cedar Key in the house right now. Got East Coast of Central Florida watching. Thank you all for tuning in right now as we are analyzing what's going on. So let's get right to the data, because I know many of you have plans this weekend. And as we move into high school football games, there's going to be some wind and some rain here in Florida to Georgia to the Carolinas as we go into Friday. I think you'll wake up to a wall of rain in the Outer Banks, all the way west to Raleigh, and then stretching down toward Myrtle Beach, Charleston, Hilton Head Island. This circulation starts to tighten up right here, and this could be a tropical storm by Friday night into Saturday. Some of those rain showers get as far west as Mecklenburg County, into Charlotte, into Gastonia possibly. Can't rule it out in the upstate, as we may get a shower or two early on Saturday morning, but this quickly pulls to the north here, and this system likely is forming and making landfall within 24 to 36 hours of actually forming here. So, that's one of those systems where you don't have a lot of time to track it, but thankfully these systems close to home usually end up being a little weaker. I don't want that to let your guard down, because any tropical system possesses the potential to cause flooding, and inland flooding is the most dangerous and deadly part of a tropical system. Inevitably, the waters get out of hand in some locations, and that can be really dangerous. So from Wilmington to Cape Hatteras, I see a landfall showing up on our high-res data here, and this moves toward the north into Virginia, where it's going to be a sloppy Saturday. This will impact a lot of football games, unfortunately, on Saturday. Let's talk about those winds, because new data just in shows it's going to be breezy just about anywhere you're watching from right now, from Florida to Georgia to the Carolinas, up through the Northeast this weekend, just different times. Notice how these winds really amplify from something to something bigger. Okay, so Friday, those wind gusts from Horry County up through Wilmington into North Carolina could be 50, 60 miles per hour, and this model shows a possible landfall of a strong tropical storm, 65 to 70 miles per hour. That would be approaching Hurricane Cat 1 strength as it moves on through. We've got Spartanburg in the house, Pickens, South Carolina in the house. We've got Houston, Texas checking in right now. Thank you, Miss Ziggy. Always a pleasure to have you here. We've got a lot happening here across the East Coast with another system that we need to keep an eye on, which I'm going to dive into here in just a minute. So there you have it. Winds up to 70 miles per hour and gusts up to 75 possible there along the coast. As far as rainfall totals are concerned, I don't expect much, if any, in the Western Carolinas, but along the coast, this is where we get that landfall. We're talking it going from 1/10 of an inch in the Charlotte area to 2 inches in Raleigh to 3 to 4 from Wilmington to Cape Hatteras, as much as 5 for Cape Hatteras up through the north here in the Outer Banks. And then you go up here toward Washington, D.C., up through New York City, Jersey Shore, up through parts of Boston. We're talking as much as 3 to 4 inches of rain in a matter of 2 or 3 days here. Let's look closer at those impacts, because temperatures are going to be quite comfortable with this. Even in Florida, where it has been so warm, so muggy, and so rainy this week, the circulation around this is really going to pull in some cooler breezes where it's going to feel like fall for most of us this weekend. Let's get right to it. Friday, that circulation wrapping around this. We'll have highs in the 70s and 80s across the Carolinas to Georgia to Florida. And then going into Saturday, there's that circulation spinning around here. It pulls down some cooler air where you're waking up Saturday morning to the 40s and 50s in the Carolinas here. This would be Saturday morning at 7 a.m., low 50s in the Carolinas, low 60s in the upstate of South Carolina. Look at this, 60 stretching all the way into central Florida. That's a nice change. And then moving into Saturday afternoon, very, very pleasant, mid to upper 70s showing up across much of the Carolinas. So it'll be very nice. It's just going to be wet and rainy. The same can be said up here for the north. The circulation around this pulling in cooler northeast winds to where it is going to be very wet and very rainy. We're talking Saturday being a sloppy day from Pennsylvania to New York to Virginia. High temperatures only in the 50s with wind and with rain. Let's look at those impacts in the Northeast, because as we move forward here, we're going to see that wall of rain beginning to arrive Saturday. Really from Jersey to D.C. to the Outer Banks, it's just rainy and windy. This system begins to unravel as it's had a couple hours on land Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. This continues to move up toward the north, toward Boston, to where it finally moves out by Monday morning. We're starting our work week off kind of with a fresh slate that's moving on out, but a soggy weekend to say the least. How about wind gusts? It's going to be windy just about everywhere you go. 50, 60 mile per hour gusts possible from D.C. into Maryland, stretching down into Norfolk, into Virginia, and then up through New York into Jersey. We're talking 35 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts this weekend as this system rolls on through. And it's not only wind, it's a lot of rain. These new rainfall estimates show southern part of New York into Pennsylvania, we're talking 1 to 3 inches of rain. Basically, this is an I-95 storm, similar to what we'd have in the wintertime. I-95 East is going to have quite a bit of rain with this moving forward. And it's not the only system we need to watch. Unfortunately, the models here are continuing to hint that we could have a monster developing in the Atlantic going into early next week. So right on the heels of this system, we can kind of breathe a sigh of relief as that's moving away from the United States, but we can't let our guard down for our friends in the islands. Really from Trinidad and Tobago up through St. Martin, we're dialed in on what's going to happen Tuesday. This would be Monday night into Tuesday, a hurricane forming and getting very close to you. You see it right here at the center part of your screen. High pressure keeping this kind of locked to the south, may steer this very close to Puerto Rico, Trinidad and Tobago, St. Lucia. We're watching this very closely for all of you as this moves toward the northwest right here and continues to follow that high. Thankfully, we have enough of an opening here as this Bermuda high slides to the east a little bit to where this could start to move more north. But yikes. Some of the model solutions, this GFS yesterday was closer to the Outer Banks. Now it's over Bermuda. It's about a 300-mile swing. So models are still trying to get a handle of where and when this will move, but it looks to be a monster on most of our models. That's the one thing that these models can agree on, is it looks to be a monster. European shows it getting very strong, but also curving away more quickly, okay? So it has it moving well east of Bermuda before it gets to these islands, and we'll have to watch that closely. Let's go back closer to the worst case model, just because, hey, let's look at what could happen responsibly, right? This is not set in stone, but I do want to be transparent in showing you that some of the models here are showing this could be spicy. This could be a big system to watch for our friends here that are still recovering from Maria just a few years ago, okay? This is a big deal. This would be Cat 2, Cat 3 in strength, moving just north of Puerto Rico. Yikes. I mean, this needs to be watched. This would be the end of next week, and then rolling to the west, and thankfully it looks like it finds an opening here and moves up toward the north where we would have an opening to where it would hopefully miss the United States. What do the ensembles show you? Well, I can show you one operational model, which I just did there, but that doesn't tell you the full picture. What are the rest of the average of those models showing? Well, right now I can tell you they're showing a weaker system, and it's worth watching here because I got 999, I got a 985. That'd be Cat 1, Tropical Storm here 1,005. So there's anywhere from a tropical storm to a Cat 1 showing up in our ensembles. And they're a little farther south here. They're showing, yes, we could get some impacts from St. Lucia to St. Martin to Puerto Rico. But they do curve it. You see here 980 lows. There's a lot of 970, 980s in here. That'd be Cat 1, Cat 2. So we know there's going to be a big system here. We just don't exactly know where it's going to go yet. Most of these models do agree with it pulling away from the United States and not moving here. European model, a similar look to that, but it does curve it. There's 960s in here. There's 955s in here. A couple of these European model solutions are a little bonkers like the GFS with 950 lows. That'd be Cat 3, Cat 4 in strength. 946 here. That'd be Cat 5. I mean, we're talking big-time storms here showing up in our ensembles. So we know it's going to be big. The European shows it moving well east of the islands, messing up some shipping lanes for sure, but not being as a formidable threat to the islands as what the GFS is showing. So we're dialed in. I'm watching it closely, and you're in the right place to have updates on that. I won't let you down. I'll keep you posted along the way. Back here at home, we do have severe concerns toward the nation's midsection from Texas to Oklahoma today. A severe risk of wind and hail, possibly even some isolated tornadoes stretching into Nebraska. And then same story tomorrow as we look at the day 2 outlook. It shifts a little bit more toward Kansas up through Nebraska into South Dakota with some wind and possible tornadoes. This has been highlighted here. A lot of storm fuel as this part of the jet stream low almost looks to be cut off from it, meandering around, and that twisting and turning of the winds could lead to tornado activity from Nebraska to Kansas. And then there's a more formidable threat as this forms into a more of a straight line wind threat going into Saturday. So a couple of days of severe threat here from Oklahoma to Kansas to Nebraska to South Dakota into Iowa. Stretching down toward Arkansas. We're watching it very closely from Missouri as well. So it does not look to move toward the East Coast. This does weaken as it moves a bit farther east. Let me dive in closer because I love this website. This is Tomer Berg's website. He has a lot to offer here as far as kind of diving into the heart of a storm. This is the SHIPS model broken down a little bit more in depth. It shows depression, then a storm forming, tropical storm forming later tonight, where it likely makes landfall somewhere here near Cape Hatteras, and then moves up toward the north where it impacts D.C., New York City, and then curves back out. This also plotted here shows max winds capping out somewhere around 70 miles per hour. So that kind of shows you the potential from the SHIPS model, not what's forecast, but kind of the ceiling in this. Looks to be about a Cat 1, okay? So this doesn't have the possibility, at least right now, to blossom into a monster system. And thankfully that is indicated here by the models. As far as wind shear, it does encounter a lot more wind shear as it gets caught up in the jet stream. Sea surface temperatures, it enters cooler waters as it goes forward, so that's good news. Is right now it's kind of its peak area as it's sitting off the Carolina coast in those warm waters, but as it moves north, those waters get cooler. It also begins to be impacted by dry air. You know it over the East Coast right now. Besides Florida, it's just really, really dry. We're getting cool mornings. That looks to get wrapped into this system as you see the relative humidity just plummet with this as it gets inundated with dry air and land. It also loses its heat content from the ocean. You want this to be in the 50s plus for a stronger storm, and it's just not there and just plummets down as it begins to make landfall. So really, really interesting data there. The SHIPS model here, along with some others, showing that max strength sitting right there around Cat 1. So I feel confident in the fact that we're likely looking at a tropical storm. Maybe a Cat 1 would be the high end of what we could be looking at here, and then it moves on out. So folks, thank you. Just thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in during this live broadcast. I want to have some time here to answer your questions. Because I know you have some. And it's my commitment here on this channel to provide you with answers best I can, no matter where you're watching from, because I am very thankful that you are here, and I'm very thankful that we're able to have this platform to be able to talk here. And I think that these type venues are helpful when it comes to weather, because I know that it can provide for some anxiety. There is such a thing as storm anxiety. You've been inundated with hurricanes. You've been inundated with tropical activity. And we we need to see that. You like to have answers, right? You like to have those answers as we move on through from these areas. So thank you for all that you guys do. Thank you for tuning in here as we continue to watch this activity rolling on through these areas. So what do you guys have for me? Anything that you're dialed in on right now that I can help you with? I would love to be able to help you best I can. Many of you watching from the east central coast of Florida right now. We got Pickens in the house. We got a lot going on in these areas, and I'm thankful that you're here, thankful that you're watching in many of these areas right now. So thank you for all that you do, and thank you for tuning in right in here. We'll have much more in the way of updates as we go throughout the day today and moving forward this week as we continue to watch this